Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive on the history of Fashion Week.
It's going to be a fun one.
It is going to be fun. We got so many requests for this one.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a deep dive, which means we have a ton of online articles.
All the juicy details.
Yeah, juicy details. So we're going way beyond just like when it started. We're really going to dig into like who the people were, who made it happen, why it happened.
The stories.
Yeah, and all that good stuff. So if you're curious about the history of this global phenomenon, you are in the right place.
It really is fascinating to see like how it evolved, from its humble beginnings to this global spectacle.
Yeah.
So
let's start, before Fashion Weeks even existed, like way back in the day.
yeah.
We're talking like the 1850s with a guy named Charles Frederick Worth,
Ah, yes.
considered like the first fashion designer. Back then, designers went to their clients, right?
Yeah, they would like visit clients in their homes for fittings and stuff.
Right.
But Worth kind of changed the game.
Right.
He had clients come to his atelier in Paris.
Oh, wow. So he was like,
Yeah.
I'm the expert. You come to me.
He was like, my time is precious.
Yeah, what a power move.
Yeah, it was a huge turning point.
So that kind of leads to the concept of the salon show,
Exactly.
which is, I imagine, much more intimate.
Yeah, it was very small, very intimate,
Yeah.
very curated group of clients.
So instead of like a big runway show, it's like this little gathering in his atelier,
Exactly. No cameras, no crazy crowds.
just like him and his creations.
Yeah, it was about personal connection and sales, of course.
Yes. I mean, that was the point, right?
Yeah, of course.
So then fast forward a bit, we're going to like 1903 to New York City.
Okay.
And there's a shop called the Eric Brothers.
Uh-huh.
And they decided to hold what's considered by many to be the first U.S. fashion show.
Interesting.
It was still a far cry from what we see today,
Yeah.
but it signaled this move toward like
Yeah.
more theatrical public presentations.
Right. Right. More of a spectacle.
Yeah.
But still very exclusive, mind you.
Yeah.
No cameras, still just clients, journalists, buyers, that sort of thing.
So that exclusivity must have made it even more like mysterious
Oh, absolutely.
and like alluring.
Yeah, it was all very hush-hush.
Yeah, and it definitely controlled how the information got out there about the designs.
Absolutely.
But then World War II happens.
Right.
And the fashion
Yeah.
world kind of gets turned upside down.
Yeah, travel to Paris was restricted, so that had a huge impact.
So this American fashion publicist, Eleanor Lambert,
Ah, Eleanor Lambert.
she kind of sees an opportunity here.
Yeah, she was a visionary.
She was.
She saw that it was time to put American design talent on the map.
Yeah.
Literally on the map.
So tell me more about what she did.
Okay, so in 1943, she launches this thing called Press Week in New York.
And that eventually becomes New York Fashion Week.
Yes, exactly.
It's crazy how this global crisis like leads to this iconic event.
Sometimes you need that kind of disruption to shake things up.
Yeah, totally. So
Yeah.
Press Week was all about getting American designers in the media, right?
That was the main goal. Yeah. And then there's this incredible woman, Ruth Finley.
Ruth Finley.
She actually worked with Eleanor Lambert for a bit.
Uh-huh.
And she saw how chaotic it was to schedule all these shows.
Oh my gosh. I can imagine.
Editors and buyers running all over the city.
Yeah, and trying to like make all the connections and spot all the trends and just,
Pure mayhem.
yeah, pure mayhem.
So Finley had this brilliant idea.
What did she do?
She created the fashion calendar,
Oh my God.
this little pink book.
I've heard of this.
Yeah.
That's legendary.
Yeah, it brought order to the madness.
Like standardized the showtime so there weren't overlaps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A very simple idea.
Yeah, but such a huge impact.
A huge impact on the industry, yeah.
Still used today.
Still used today. Amazing, right?
Yeah, it is amazing. Okay, so then as American fashion is gaining more and more influence,
Uh-huh.
we have the Council of Fashion Designers of America.
The CFDA.
Right. The CFDA is founded in 1962
By Eleanor Lambert.
by Eleanor Lambert again.
She's everywhere.
She is everywhere. It's incredible.
Incredible.
And the CFDA has obviously played a huge role
Yeah,
in solidifying the importance of American fashion
absolutely.
and establishing New York as a major fashion capital.
Yeah.
So now, fast forward again to the 1990s,
Okay.
fashion shows in New York are becoming more elaborate,
Uh-huh.
but they're still kind of scattered across the city.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Yeah, so editors and buyers are still like running around.
Still running around.
Yeah, trying to catch everything.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. So Stan Herman and Fern Malice,
Yeah.
who were leading the CFDA at the time, they had this brilliant idea
What was it?
to centralize the shows at Bryant Park,
Ah, Bryant Park.
and they called it 7th on 6th.
7th on 6th, so chic.
I know.
Love it.
Yeah, it must have been a game changer for New York Fashion Week.
Oh, it was huge. It brought so much more focus and attention.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of corporate sponsors.
I bet. Like Mercedes-Benz and stuff.
Exactly.
This is where it really starts to look like the massive, high-profile event that we know today.
Yeah. Big budgets, big productions.
But of course, New York wasn't the only city
Right.
that was kind of like vying for this title
Of course not.
of fashion capital.
Yeah, let's talk about Milan,
Okay.
which actually became a major fashion capital even before London.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So back in 1951, there's this Italian aristocrat, Giovanni Battista Giorgini.
That is a mouthful.
It is.
Okay.
And he organized these fashion shows at the Palazzo Pitti in Florence.
Palazzo Pitti, wow.
It's very glamorous.
That sounds very glamorous.
Yeah, he wanted to showcase Italian fashion to the world.
Okay.
So he brought in buyers from major American retailers, international press. The shows were a huge success, but there was a problem.
What? How?
Florence just wasn't prepared for the massive influx of visitors.
Oh, like the infrastructure.
Yeah, the hotels, the transportation.
Yep.
It was a logistical nightmare.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Well, I know. It's like they were victims of their own success.
Yeah, so what did they do?
Well, they moved the shows to Milan
Okay.
in 1958.
Smart.
Yeah, and this led to the establishment of Milan Fashion Week
Hi.
by the Camera Nazionale della Moda Italiana,
Okay.
which is a non-profit organization that promotes Italian fashion.
Okay, so they're like the CFDA
Kind of.
of
Yeah.
Italy.
Exactly.
So this like unexpected challenge actually kind of paved the way
It did.
for Milan to become this fashion capital.
Yeah, it's funny how these things happen, right?
It really is okay. And then
And Milan just took off.
yeah.
With iconic Italian designers like Prada, Armani, Dolce, and Gabbana Versace.
Oh yeah, those are big names.
Huge names. Yeah.
Okay, so Milan definitely cemented its place
Absolutely.
in fashion history.
Right.
But we can't forget about Paris,
Of course not.
which is like the city that's synonymous with fashion.
Right. Like when you think of fashion, you think of Paris.
Yeah, so the concept of fashion shows in Paris actually goes way back
Yeah.
to these things called
Défilé de mode.
défilé de mode.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay, so basically, shop owners would hire women to model designs in public.
So they were like walking advertisements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Paris Fashion Week, as we know it, has a much more dramatic origin story.
Oh, really? I'm intrigued.
So it all starts with this event called the Battle of Versailles in 1973.
The Battle of Versailles.
I
What?
know, it's a great name, right?
That is a great name. What is this?
Okay, so it was this grand event where they pitted 5 American designers against 5 French couturiers.
Like a fashion battle.
A fashion battle.
At the Palace of Versailles?
At the Palace of Versailles.
Oh my gosh.
I know, epic, right?
That is epic. Who won?
The Americans.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a surprise victory
I bet.
that really helped put American fashion on the map.
Okay. And guess who organized this whole thing?
Who?
Eleanor Lambert.
Eleanor Lambert, of course.
She is everywhere.
She's a legend.
She's a legend.
Yeah.
So Paris Fashion Week kicks off with a bang.
A very big bang.
Yeah. But it was the Fédération de la Haute Couture et de la Mode,
Ah, yes.
which was actually originally founded by Charles Frederick Worth.
Oh, wow. Full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Back in 1868.
Wow.
That really solidified the city as the fashion capital.
Yeah, they play a crucial role in shaping and regulating the French fashion industry.
Yeah, Paris is also unique because it hosts Haute Couture Week,
Yes.
which focuses on like the really intricate handmade garments.
Yeah. The highest level of artistry and craftsmanship.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of those creations.
Oh, they're incredible.
They're breathtaking, like wearable art.
Exactly.
Okay, now we can't leave out London Fashion Week,
Of course not.
which had a slightly more humble beginning, right?
It did, yeah.
Okay.
So while this guy named Percy Savage,
Uh-huh.
he was a fashion PR, he had organized some early shows in London.
Okay.
The official start of London Fashion Week is attributed to the British Fashion Council.
The BFC.
Yes, the BFC in 1983.
83.
And get this,
What?
the first show was held in a car park.
A car park? Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a far cry from the glamour of Paris.
That's amazing.
But even with that humble beginning,
Yeah.
London Fashion Week quickly gained momentum.
Really?
Yeah, they secured government funding.
Oh, wow.
Princess Diana held receptions for designers.
Oh my God.
Even Margaret Thatcher attended the shows.
That's amazing.
I know, right?
What a glow up.
Total glow up.
I love it. I love a good underdog story.
Me too.
I think what's really cool about the BFC is their new GN program,
Yes.
which supports emerging designers.
Absolutely. Nurturing new talent is so important for the industry.
Totally. And London is known for its innovative and like avant-garde designs.
Yeah, they push boundaries.
Yeah, so they played a really key role in fostering that new talent.
Absolutely.
But the evolution of Fashion Week doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't.
We got to talk about how the fashion show format itself has transformed over the years.
It's been a wild ride.
It has been a wild ride.
From those small, intimate gatherings to these massive productions.
Yeah, and everything in between.
Exactly.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick break. All right, so we've journeyed from intimate salon shows in the 1850s to the birth of fashion weeks in New York, Milan, and Paris.
And we've seen how those events evolved, becoming more organized, influential, and global.
Yeah, but the story doesn't end there. The fashion show itself has gone through a pretty dramatic transformation, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, remember those early salon shows?
Yeah.
They were all about those intimate client presentations.
Right. Very exclusive.
But when ready-to-wear fashion started to take off in the 60s,
Things began to shift.
the shows started to change.
Yeah, they became more theatrical, more
They
accessible.
were for everyone.
Yeah, reflecting that shift towards a wider audience.
It's like fashion shows kind of became these like cultural events in their own right.
Yeah, almost like the rock concerts of the time.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You know, think about designers like Mary Quant and Ozzy Clark in London.
Yeah.
They were dressing rock stars
Yeah.
like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
Right.
And their shows definitely had that same rebellious, energetic vibe.
And then, of course, you have Yves Saint Laurent.
A true visionary.
Oh, yeah.
Really helped popularize ready-to-wear.
I remember reading that he even, like, declared haute couture a relic of the past.
He did.
Which is, like,
bold statement.
a bold statement coming from him.
Yeah.
And his Rive Gauche line was a massive success, and his shows were legendary.
Absolutely.
I feel like I read somewhere that one of his shows in the 70s cost a fortune to produce.
You're talking about his 1976 ready-to-wear show.
Huh?
That was inspired by the Ballet Russes.
Okay.
It cost unheard of at the time, $500,000.
$500,000.
$500,000.
That's more than some movies cost to make back then.
I know, it's crazy.
Wow.
It was a groundbreaking show in a lot of ways. Saint Laurent also introduced the use of professional hair and makeup teams for the models, which set a new standard for the entire industry.
Wow, it's amazing how one designer can have such a huge impact.
Yeah.
Like influencing everything from fashion trends to even the production of the shows themselves.
Absolutely.
It sounds like the 70s marked a real turning point, you know,
Definitely.
where spectacle and extravagance became these key parts of the fashion show experience.
Yes, and this trend continued with the designers who followed Saint Laurent,
Okay.
like Jean-Paul Gaultier, Claude Montana, and Thierry Mugler.
Yeah.
They were known as the Les Enfants Terribles.
Les Enfants Terribles.
Yeah,
I love that.
for their irreverence and for those outlandish, over-the-top runway
I've
shows.
seen pictures of those.
Yeah.
Wild.
They were a feast for the senses.
Totally. The clothes, the music, the staging.
It was like a whole other world.
Yeah, a far cry from like the restrained elegance of traditional haute couture.
Completely.
Yeah.
And we can't forget the influence of Pump. Oh, yeah. Vivienne Westwood.
Vivienne Westwood, Malcolm McLaren.
Yes.
They presented their designs in Paris in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And it was like a complete rejection of Parisian chic.
Wow.
They really challenged the established norms of the fashion world.
Yeah, they were true disruptors.
Absolutely.
It sounds like the 80s were a time of real rebellion and upheaval in fashion.
They were. And as this was happening, we also saw a shift away from the dominance of haute couture
Okay.
and the continued rise of ready-to-wear,
Right.
which meant that the target audience for fashion shows began to change as well.
So those like private clients became less important?
Yeah, they were still there,
Okay.
but the focus was shifting more toward buyers from stores
Yeah.
and the fashion media.
I can see that happening.
Yeah. The rise of specialty stores like Barney's in New York
Yeah.
and Brown's in London,
Yeah.
they really turned buyers into these tastemakers in their own right.
Right.
And then you have fashion magazines like Women's Wear Daily and Vogue.
Oh, they had a huge influence on what people were wearing.
It's like the whole fashion ecosystem was evolving.
It was.
And then in the 80s and 90s, Japanese designers like Yohji Yamamoto and Rei Kawakubo of Comme des Garçons arrived on the scene.
Oh, yeah. They were incredible.
Their designs were so different, so avant-garde.
So innovative.
How did they influence the fashion show format?
You know, their impact on the fashion show format wasn't as pronounced as their impact on the clothes themselves.
Really?
They were more focused on the artistry
Okay.
and the ideas
Yeah.
behind their creations. Like, they made people think differently about what fashion could be.
So they were more about like pushing the boundaries of fashion design itself
Yeah,
rather than transforming the way it was presented.
exactly.
What about Martin Margiela?
Oh, Margiela.
I remember reading that he was known for his unconventional approach to fashion shows.
He was. He rejected the traditional hierarchy
Okay.
of seating at fashion shows
Oh, wow. Interesting.
and embraced a more democratic approach. You know,
Oh.
he wanted to create a sense of equality
Hmm.
and anonymity.
Even for himself.
He was very private.
Yeah, no, he's like a mystery man.
He is a mystery.
Yeah.
He kept himself very hidden from the public eye.
It's almost like he was making a statement about the fashion industry itself.
Right.
You know, challenging this obsession with status and exclusivity.
Definitely an element of that to his work.
Yeah.
And his shows often took place in unusual locations,
Yeah, like where?
like abandoned train stations or empty warehouses,
Wow.
far from the glamorous venues favored by other designers.
So he was like intentionally disrupting the norms, the expectations
Yes.
surrounding fashion shows.
Challenging the status quo.
I love that.
Yeah, he was a true innovator.
So by the mid-90s, Paris Fashion Week had become like a truly international event
Yeah.
with designers from all over the world showcasing their collections.
It was no longer a purely French affair.
Yeah, that's
In fact,
incredible.
It really speaks to the power of globalization and how it shapes the industry.
Yes. And that globalization continued in 1997 when Helmut Lang, one of the most influential designers of the decade, made a bold decision.
Oh, yeah.
He moved his show from Paris to New York.
That was a big deal.
That must have sent shockwaves through the industry.
It did.
What made him decide to do that?
Well, Lang's decision to show his collection earlier in the season prompted Calvin Klein to do the same.
Oh, wow.
And soon the rest of New York Fashion Week followed suit.
So like one designer's choice kind of changed the entire global fashion calendar.
It did.
Wow.
It was a seismic shift.
That's wild.
Yeah, it put New York at the forefront opening Fashion Month
Yeah.
and further solidifying its status as a major fashion capital.
And as we moved into the 21st century, another major force came into play. The internet.
The internet changed everything.
Oh my God, it really did.
It revolutionized so many aspects of our lives,
Yeah.
including how we experience fashion.
Tell me more about how it changed the game for fashion shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in the early 2000s, bloggers who were like the early influencers began attending shows.
Oh, yeah?
And brands really started to realize the power of online reach,
Totally.
you know, and how these bloggers could amplify their message to a global audience.
It's amazing how these bloggers, who were often just like individuals with a passion for fashion, became so influential in the industry.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like they were the pioneers of the digital age of fashion.
Totally.
And Dolce & Gabbana even put bloggers in the front row in 2009.
Really?
Yeah, giving them laptops to document the shows in real time.
Wow.
It was a real turning point.
It's like suddenly fashion shows became accessible to anyone with an internet connection.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was no longer this like exclusive behind closed doors event.
Right.
And then street style photography kind of exploded.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just about like the clothes on the runway anymore.
Right.
But the entire scene surrounding the shows,
Yeah.
the celebrities, the influencers, the stylish attendees.
The whole spectacle.
Yeah, like capturing the energy of the entire event, not
Yep.
just what's happening on the runway.
Exactly.
So fashion shows kind of became less about exclusivity and more about, I don't know, capturing the energy and excitement.
The buzz.
Yeah, the buzz.
The vibe.
The vibe and sharing it with the world.
Right.
But not everyone was thrilled about this shift, right? Towards a more public, less exclusive fashion world.
There were definitely some criticisms.
Yeah.
I mean, fashion critic Susie Menkes wrote a very famous article in
Yeah.
2013 called The Circus of Fashion.
I remember that article.
Yeah.
It caused quite a stir.
It did.
What was her main argument?
She argued that fashion shows had become more about hype and celebrity culture than the clothes themselves.
Right.
And she wasn't entirely wrong. You
Right.
know, there was this growing emphasis on spectacle
Yeah.
and the influence of bloggers.
It makes you wonder, as fashion shows became more accessible and entertainment driven, did they lose some of their focus on the clothes themselves?
You know, that's a great question.
Yeah.
It's a question that's still relevant today.
Yeah.
A lot of designers are grappling with that, for sure.
Yeah. And then social media platforms like Instagram
Oh, yeah, Instagram.
began to exert their influence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Celebrities and influencers became even more central to Fashion Week and often overshadowing the designers and their creations.
It's like the whole concept of exclusivity got flipped on its head.
Right.
Now it's about who has the most followers, who can generate the most buzz online.
Exactly. And with smartphones and live streaming, anyone with an internet connection can now experience a fashion show in real time.
Wow. It's a far cry from those exclusive salon shows we talked about earlier.
It is.
So what does the future hold for Fashion Week?
Oh, that's the million-dollar question.
It really is. Fashion shows have already evolved so much.
They have.
And technology is changing at such an incredible pace.
I know.
Who knows what the future holds?
It's exciting to think of all the possibilities.
Right.
Maybe we'll see a complete merging of the physical and digital worlds.
Oh, yeah, creating even more immersive experiences for the audience.
Right.
That would be amazing.
Or maybe we'll see a return to smaller, more intimate presentations.
Yeah, kind of like a reaction against the overwhelming scale and spectacle of current fashion weeks.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too.
It's a fascinating time to be following this industry, for sure.
Yeah. It really does feel like we're at a crossroads. You know,
Yeah.
on the one hand, you have designers like Kanye West, who presented his Yeezy collection at Madison Square Garden
Oh, yeah.
and live streamed it in movie theaters.
It's like a rock concert meets fashion show, isn't it?
It is. It's very much like that.
Yeah, it definitely leans into that whole circus of fashion idea
Right.
that Susie Menkes was talking about. But
Yeah.
it also shows how fashion shows are becoming these
Yeah.
huge...
Multi-platform events.
Yeah.
You know, blurring the lines with entertainment.
Yeah, and then you have events like Vogue World
Oh, yeah.
in 2024, which felt more like a televised spectacle
It did.
than a traditional runway show.
Yeah, with celebrity hosts,
Right.
musical performances.
Yeah, is this the future? Are we going to see fashion shows become these
No.
massive productions,
It's possible.
broadcast global?
It's definitely a possibility. I mean, we're already seeing brands incorporate those elements
Right.
into their events, like, you know, a pop star performance.
Yeah.
Or an A-list after party.
It definitely gets people talking.
It does. It generates buzz,
Yeah.
attracts a wider audience.
But I keep coming back to this question. Are we sacrificing something in the process?
Mm.
Are we losing sight of the heart of fashion? You know,
The design.
the craftsmanship
Artists.
amidst all the spectacle and hype.
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
There's definitely a risk, I think,
Yeah.
that the focus on entertainment could overshadow the creativity and
Ah.
artistry
Yeah.
behind the designs.
That's a tough one.
It is. It's a balancing act for sure.
It makes you wonder if there will be kind of a counter movement,
Oh, interesting.
a return to a more focused approach.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see designers choosing smaller,
Yeah.
more exclusive presentations
Mhm.
as a way of kind of emphasizing the clothes themselves
Yeah, stripping it back to the essentials.
and getting back to the roots of it all.
It's possible. I mean, we're already seeing designers experiment with different formats.
Right.
You know, the pandemic forced the industry
Yeah.
to explore digital presentations,
Right, yeah.
virtual fashion shows,
Yeah.
and some of those innovations might stick around.
I'm really curious to see how those digital experiments kind of influence the future of physical shows.
Me too.
Maybe we'll see this blend of the physical and the digital,
Yeah.
creating even more immersive experiences
Right.
for audiences worldwide.
There are so many possibilities.
Yeah, there are. It's exciting. It is. And ultimately, I think the future of Fashion Week is going to be shaped by the designers.
I think so too.
You know, they're the artists. They're the visionaries.
The storytellers
Yeah. And they're the ones who are going to determine how they want to present their work
to the world.
to the world.
Yeah.
And we get to watch it all unfold.
And we have front row seats
Yeah, we do.
to this incredible evolution.
What a journey it's been.
It has.
Exploring the history of Fashion Week. I mean,
From the 1850s to today.
I know. It's amazing to see how much it's changed
It,
and how much it's stayed the same in some ways.
right. It's still about creativity and artistry
Yeah.
and pushing boundaries.
And spectacle.
Yeah.
Let's not forget about the spectacle.
And the spectacle, of course.
It's definitely still there.
It's always going to be a part of it.
So to our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you a newfound appreciation for the history of Fashion Week
Absolutely.
and ignited your curiosity about what the future holds.
It's an exciting time to be following this industry.
It really is. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.